Okay, folks, we're getting ready for our second panel on embracing new technology, and I'm pleased to introduce the moderator, Pam Harper. The bio is in front of you, but I'll just read a few lines. And Pam's been great to work with. As many of you know, she's a well-known performance advisor, business performance advisor, author, professional speaker, founding partner and CEO of Business Advancement, Inc. Since 1991, BAI has enabled companies of all sizes to accelerate growth and profitability. Pam's in-depth knowledge of the impact of organizational issues on innovation, business growth, and profitability, based on over 20 years of internal and external consulting to entrepreneurial, middle market, and Fortune 500 companies in a wide range of industries, all going through extraordinary growth and change. It's my privilege to welcome my partner in this event, Pam Harper.
Thank you, Jim. Well, it's been quite a morning, hasn't it? I think we've seen a lot of things, heard a lot of things about innovation, business evolution or revolution. You know, I was thinking, I was one of the founders of this conference. We started 3 years ago in October of 2010. And at that time, we were looking at reinventing your business as sort of an event. It was looked at as, well, should we reinvent because the business is going under, or should we be reinventing because of growth? And there were more people at that time who were thinking, oh, we should do it because there were starting to be more people who were starting to look at it as, okay, we're going to be using it for growth. And I think what's very clear, as I've been talking to people in my own work and also just listening to people today, that every business in every industry, all sizes, really has to be in at least a recognition that we're all evolving, if not in total revolution, to go forward. I think the other thing that's important to take away, that I've been taking away from today, between Denise Morrison and the panel we just had, is how much technology is a part of this evolution or revolution as we're talking about it. Try to separate the two. It's hard to do. We were talking about it in the last panel. We're going to talk about it intensively now. The challenge as I see it in my role as a business performance advisor is we tend to get very infatuated. There's so much technology out there. Some of the panelists in the last session were talking about the importance of recognizing the right technology for your customers. And I think it takes very strong leadership to recognize that, as well as to look at the many challenges that also go with technology. And there was a hint of that. And just as a brief example, we were working with a company that was having some challenges with new technology that they developed. It was an intranet system, and it was designed to foster growth and cross-company collaboration. It was going to be a means for breakthrough, revolutionary innovation and reinvention. And what happened was very interesting. They introduced it. It was state-of-the-art technology. And it didn't quite work out the way they thought. Many people were not using it. And the question was, what was happening? And what was happening is that in many ways, people were either disincented or confused. They didn't see it as part of the strategy of the company, the further away they got. So I think the thing that we really need to be looking at is it takes strong leadership to recognize the right strategy or the right technology for your company, for your customers, as well as to address the many stakeholder issues that exist. So today we're going to be talking, we've got 4 distinguished panelists, and on surface, if you look at their bios, I won't go into depth on each of them, you have them at your seat, but it doesn't seem like they would have a lot in common. We have Cheryl Barone, who's the CEO of One Horn Transportation, Mark Essenfeld, CEO of Tribeca Oven, Kirish Lavia, who's the CEO of Gateway Group 1, and Roland Ornelas, who is now the Chief Procurement Officer of Dunkin Brands. So we're going from virtual company all the way up through multi-billion-dollar franchise corporation. And we're going to be talking about exactly embracing and integrating new technology. So let's get started. Okay. First of all, I'd like to ask each of you to tell us a little bit about your company and about a turning point in your company's life where you were looking at evolution or revolution and the technology that decisions that you faced. So why don't we start with Cheryl?
Good morning. How is everybody today? Great. So our company is One Horn Transportation, and from the outside, from the end user standpoint, we provide trucking and logistics services. But we really think of ourselves as a virtual trucking company because we don't own any trucks. We have independent agents who are subcontractors around the country who book the loads of their customers, and they use outside trucking companies to deliver the loads, and we provide all the back office services and support. But we didn't start out this way. And it started as an evolution, but it ended up as a revolution because in terms of evolution, we started out as owning our own trucks, a trucking company, with our own tractors and trailers. Then we reinvented ourselves into a trucking brokerage company where we did the subcontracting out. We had the inside sales, the dispatch, everything kind of under our own roof. And then in the end, there was a significant change in our business strategy because we decided that in order to double, triple, multiply by tenfold our business size of sales, that we needed to completely change our business model. And that's when we embraced the agent-based model. And so at that point, we had to make a big decision regarding technology because we had a proprietary software package, Stratibo, that we used to run the transportation management side of the business. But in order to have agents virtually working all over the country from home offices or satellite offices, we needed to make a make or buy decision regarding whether or not we were going to use our own software and develop it, or we would purchase and license some outside software. And so that was a big, big revolutionary change for us because now the agents were our customers, not the shipper, and then the shipper were the agent's customers, so it was a complete revolution for our business. And technology really helped us at that point because we decided to finish our own software, and that has enabled us to really keep our costs down significantly and really grow our business as a virtual company.
Okay. Well, let's go clear across here. Let's go to Roland. Mix it up a little bit.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody here likes Dunkin' coffee, yes? Raise your hand. All right. Well, I'm relatively new to Dunkin Brands. I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to come in at the level that I'm coming in at to really look at their supply chain. And one of the, being new, you're able to come in and look at the system very objectively. And one of the shifts that Dunkin Brands, as many of you may have already noticed, is they're doing a lot of promotions. You're seeing the turkey sausage sandwich. Dunkin is trying to get new customers in the restaurants. It's really to get you to buy more coffee and beverages. That's really their strategy, is to get new consumers. We're expanding out to California. But a lot of these promotions have put a lot of stress in the system because Dunkin Brands has historically not been a company where you're having a lot of these promotions and sandwiches. And one of the things that's very clear is that a lot of the technology from a supply chain to not only expand towards the West Coast, but to support a lot of these promotions are just not there. You have a lot of legacy systems that have been patched together over the years. And so I really call that more of an evolution on the back end, just to get the back end systems to where you need them to be. The revolution's really on the front end. What a lot of companies are saying is more of how does the consumer interact with technology? With Dunkin Brands now, you can go in and use your smartphone to pay for your coffee, which I know everybody goes to Dunkin' Donuts every morning before work, gets their coffee, but now you have the ability to pay with your smartphone, and you're seeing a lot of retailers go more towards applications. How do I make the transaction easier? Well, you're seeing that revolution happening on the front end, but you know what? What I've noticed, and I've been fortunate enough to work for a lot of companies, is what you do with that information in a lot of the back-end systems, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to invest in new technology. And a lot of times, companies can no longer keep prolonging that huge investment cost to basically get to the 21st century in a lot of systems. Because once you do have those systems, you have this information, then the question is, what do you do with that information? How do you analyze the information that you're gathering? And some of the previous companies that I've worked for, they spent a lot of money on really developing that nice front-end website so that the customer could interact, make the decision to interact and purchase the company's product. But on the back end, there's the information that's coming in. How do you use the information? What are the data analytics systems? And that was something that's happening simultaneously, these two dynamics happening at the same time. At least that's what I've seen in some of the organizations that I've worked for.
As a matter of fact, that's true. A lot of the companies that I've dealt with over the years, especially in the early part of my career, they didn't have the infrastructure. They were growing 30-40% a year. Didn't have the infrastructure, so what Roland's talking about, very, very true. Krish, let's go over to you.
Good morning, everybody. So, how many of you here have a project, IT project currently works in your organization? Show of hands. Okay. And how many would desire to have one? How many would want to change what you have? Show of hands. Yeah. Right. So we are no different. We are a high-tech service company and a high-touch service company. We have two large divisions. One is physical security. I don't like to refer it, but gates, guns, and guards. And it's changing tremendously. And then we have passenger services in airlines and airports. You could not fly through JFK, New York, LA, any of these airports without seeing my guys. Now, generally, they don't say gateway on it because they're wearing Port Authority uniforms of some sort of that, or the airline uniforms. But technology for us became important 10 years ago, when we decided that it's about time to leave New Jersey and sort of become a national, regional player. And we are hired by the airlines, by large organizations to protect and serve, or to serve the customers. And for us, there are two sides of technology. One is internal, because I have 4,000 employees working throughout the country. And how do I keep them in touch? How do I have information back and forth? How do I manage customer feedback, employee feedback, hiring them, all of that, which most of you may take granted, but we are not a large company. Though seventh largest today in the country for security services. And the other one is everything that has to do with the experience modeling of the passenger, from the curb to your seat. And currently, all of our technology projects that we have on the aviation side is customer facing. And the goal is that it enhances the customer, doesn't make the customer come to do work for you. So for example, buying your ticket is really eliminating the ticket agent's job. We don't want to do that. We want to make your experience better. On the security side, it's a lot of back office, intelligence, analysis, and sharing of data. We all went through one of the greatest storms of the century. It's not me saying that, somebody said that. But I have to tell you this, that the state police, if they didn't have the Twitter feeds and the feeds that you would get about getting your JCPLs and PSENG backs, how many of you survived on that piece of information, and that's coming through their ROC? That didn't exist 10 years ago. That technology didn't exist, that processes didn't exist. Today we are prepared for emergency management, business continuity through technology. And so it is, in legacy industries, it's not really a revolution unless it's a TSA who creates a brand new entity. But generally it is an evolutionary process that you get to see when things go really wrong. Aviation side, pure customer modeling, customer experience modeling.
Okay, so you're really talking about a revolution in a big way.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mark.
Good morning. I have a company called Tribeca Oven, and we manufacture high-end, all-natural artisan bread. And originally, our industry was very fragmented, a lot of little bakers across the country trying to make high-quality bread. And I guess the first revolution came in the late 90s when people started to make par-baked artisan bread. Basically, you bake it about 80% of the way, you flash freeze it, and then you could ship it across the country and then bake it off on site at the restaurant, hotel, supermarket. And so that was sort of the first revolution in our industry, and it was great, and the business has grown, the category has grown tremendously. Well, we were a small player, mainly still doing fresh bread, and we wanted to get into par-baked and grow the business. So we started to develop that, and we had a lot of handwork. So we had production lines, and people would actually shape the bread by hand, which we still do some of that today. But what was happening as you grow larger and larger, you can't get that many people. I mean, you just need, we grew from 70 people, we're now about 250. We're probably about 6 times the volume of what we were, but how can you scale up with high quality, not give up the quality, but not have 5,000 people in one factory? So we spent a lot of time and energy trying to create a process that would allow us to add quality, consistency in our bread, not really eliminate jobs, but not add jobs at the rate we were adding previously. And so that's allowed us, we took a project starting in, really it started in 2007. We actually innovated for 2 years with people developing equipment and developing process that would allow us to make that happen. And in 2010, we put in a new line. So we've been operating in that line about 18 months to 2 years now. And it's been an amazing experience.
So what we're really seeing is the first commonality across all of these people, all of these different companies, is that revolution is rampant now, it sounds like, and is going to continue in some interesting ways. Well, Denise was talking about the shift. I heard, we've been talking about the shift just a little bit. And knowing that you don't want to adopt technology too early, but you also don't want to be late. What is a key principle that you use to determine when it's the right time to focus on embracing new technology into your company? And let's start it with Mark.
Okay. Well, it's very difficult to know exactly when the right time is unless you have a crystal ball or look backwards. And I think for us, we've taken a couple things. What are the trends in the marketplace is definitely one of the areas you look. But the major decision for us is I see it as 3 times you want to invest. You're either going to increase capacity, you're going to improve your quality, or you're going to have production efficiencies. And to me, when you can get 2 of those 3, is probably the right time to really consider moving forward and making some investment and changing. We happen to be very fortunate, and we went 3 for 3 in our time, so it sort of became an easy decision. But in general, when you can look at the economics, and the economics make sense, you can add capacity and add quality. Those make the investment a no-brainer.
Okay. What about you, Roland? I'm sorry, Roland. Carisha's
Sure,
I'm looking at, I'm sorry.
I don't mind Dunkin's. There is no right time. It'd be hard for anybody to predict, but I could tell you that we can all know when it's the wrong time, when you've lost a customer. And so for us, it is market awareness, competitive awareness. What is the competition doing? Because we are in a competitive environment. And truly listening to your customer. We talk about customer feedback all day long. It's sort of in every book. Listen to the customer, not to what he's saying, but really the subtext, what's the translation of what he's trying to say. And if you do not have technology in your broad vision of serving a customer, it's too late for you to jumpstart something when you said, the eureka moment. It doesn't work that way. Because we know that those who have been through this, it's anywhere from 18 months to 36 months, 12 months, and yes, the project management guys say 1 year. You should be able to have technology in your pipeline just as you have your customers in your pipeline. And those projects can only come true when the time is right, but you have to start way early in the game.
Okay. Way early.
Way early in the game. If you walk out this door and you saw your competition is doing something, it's too late. You can't call your IT and say, I need to develop this now. First to market has its benefit. Personally, we can tell you that 3 years ago, the industry was in a very per hour billable way. We did business per hour billable. Today, there are pieces of our business that is on demand. You need wheelchairs for a disabled customer? You just ask at that point in time, and we deliver. No more 4 hours ahead, no more 4 hours late, on-demand service. If you are not part of this technology trend, you are disqualified. You will not find an RFP anywhere in the United States that says, just give me the hours. No, technology is important. So we are getting into bag checks. How many of you have been to Vegas? You today can possibly go to a casino very soon, check your bags, that go straight on the plane. Could not have done it. And there are those who have not joined that game, they're out of that model. So it is really, you have to start early, think early, make it part of your vision and strategy blueprint, and then execute it when the time is right.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl, what about you?
Well, what we do is we look at a task as it's being done, and then we say, if we double our business, if we triple, whatever, how much, if that's going to take up more time, then we need to automate it. And so through our proprietary software package, we were able to automate a lot of our systems and business processes so that we wouldn't have to hire people to process paper, because we have a very paper-intensive business with 400 or 500 invoices coming in on a given month from over 500 or 600 suppliers, with all these carriers sending us the invoices. So to have people processing the paper really is kind of a waste for us when we can automate a solution to that. And so really looking at what the when there's a task that can be automated, then we go for the technology to do it. The other thing was, during this revolution, as we changed from being a brokerage to being a virtual trucking company with our agents all over the country, we had the cloud computing, the advent of cloud computing at the same time. And so it was very useful for us because we got our servers in the cloud, we got our phone systems in the cloud, we got our fax server in the cloud, and I know we all know Hurricane Sandy made this conference get postponed. A lot of our friends and colleagues had their phone systems down, they couldn't use their computers. If people weren't reading the news, our customers around the country and our agents, who are also our customers and our users, they wouldn't have even known that Sandy happened because we were in the cloud. And so it's really the idea of embracing the technology as it comes along to be able to service the agent customer, as well as keeping our bottom line down.
Okay, and Roland?
I think for Dunkin', at least at least on the supply chain side of what Dunkin' is doing, it's really more around does the current technology we have, can it get us to where we want to go? And we are about to invest heavily in a new ERP system. And for us, the implementation of an ERP system is not going, it's not an IT project. It's really an opportunity to basically redesign all the processes around it. And so we're really using that as a leverage point to really, what I would call, smash or kill a lot of sacred cows in the organization in terms around the spaghetti processes that have been built around patchwork of systems to support the way business has been currently done that's no longer working. So really for us, the implementation of new technology is really an opportunity to really look at a transformation around business process. And one thing I like to make very clear, for any kind of large technology investment, it is not an IT project. It is what it is, it's a transformation that really impacts the whole organization. And it's truly an opportunity to reinvent yourself from a business process and to really then align yourself with the culture and where you want to go from an overall growth perspective.
I think that's a very important point. You're really talking about transformation, and you're talking about taking it away from the technology, as we were talking about earlier, and looking at what's that technology there to do. And I think all of you have made a good point about that. Well, we've been talking about the fact that technology sounds great, it's important to do, but there are always challenges that go with it. So can you give an example of one challenge that you encountered as you were going through these various forms of transformation, we'll call it, and how did you overcome it? And let's start with Mark.
Starting again, okay.
Yes.
High pressure. So when we built this new line, it was, or is, an innovative line. Nobody in the world's ever done anything like we've done. It was entirely custom, and our goal was to be able to give bread what it needs, which is time. So everything we want to do is allow the dough to rest. And basically the way the world has moved is time is nothing. You just got to bang it all out. You got to do everything you can to do things quickly, and we had a different view. So when it started off, nobody in the world really wanted to help us lengthen time. Everybody is focused on shortening time. So we had to custom build our software, which became difficult to make happen. And along the way, we really needed to engage tons and tons of people because nobody really wanted to build what we were asking for. So it made it difficult. And then once you actually do build it, it's very difficult to get. We had German oven guys and Italian line people, and we had to get all these different nationalities to come together to understand each other and build one cohesive line. And so the communication was probably the most difficult part that we encountered. And how we solved it was just lots and lots of meetings, engage people from the beginning, have them be part of the process. We brought line operators into that process early so they can sort of help bring out the nuances that you're going to see in the line a little bit later. So really bringing people together was probably the solution to go through it. And that doesn't mean we didn't have our pain, which we did.
But engaging them was critical. Okay, what about you, Cheryl?
Well, our challenge was similar at the start, in fact, because we did need to develop our own software, as I mentioned. And it came at a time when we started to get a lot of new orders from a customer that they were coming in by fax, and being able to just enter them into the system that we had that existed really just didn't work for us. It was taking up way too much time. And so we started to program our own Strativo software package, and that was really the beginning. And then as time went on, and as we grew, we started to automate bit by bit all the other tasks that we had to do because the original system didn't talk to QuickBooks, and then we made our system talk to QuickBooks. Like just little things that ended up saving a lot of time. And what really was important for us was being able to integrate that, and then for ourselves first as entrepreneurs, and then make that transition when we started having people all over the country that were not physically located in the same building with, and be able to do training for those people on our new system. And so one of our the agent manager that we have, she had the idea, and used technology, of course, to videotape herself doing trainings on the system and then doing these go-to-meetings. So it's all the technology and communication that really enabled us to address the needs of these different people to adopt and use our system as they came on board and really learn so that they could really crank out and do all their loads. And a lot of them think the system is fabulous and that they can do many more loads than they could have done on the old systems. And we, in deciding whether or not we were going to design our own system, we did a survey of the market and took a look at what was out there and decided that it made a lot more sense for us to develop our own system because the functionality was much more efficient, and from a cost perspective as well, it made more sense because we wouldn't have all the licensing fees, and we used a lot of the community-developed software that's out there, the open source software that they use as a platform upon which to write our own code. And so that was another thing that was very helpful to us.
So you were able to, again, we're talking about engaging stakeholders, making sure that they're very familiar with what they're using, for starters.
Exactly.
Okay. Roland, let's go to you.
I can't say that I've seen where new technology was going to fix everything in a company, and where there was a large investment and this new technology was going to revolutionize the company, was going to automate everything, and basically when it was implemented, nobody used it, and it was a complete failure. And I think that the learnings from that, and this is not Dunkin', this is in other companies where I've seen this, and it was because that the organization saw it as an IT project where there's going to implement a system that was going to solve everything, without realizing that employee engagement, change management, culture, and business processes were all just as important aspects of implementing new technology as the technology itself. A lot of those learnings are being incorporated as we look at a new ERP system to automate the supply chain, to help drive growth in terms of expanding to new markets for Dunkin Brands, is essential, because we're about to make a long-term investment for a system that's probably going to be in place 5 to 10 years. And we cannot afford not to have it work. And so being able to approach it with some of these learnings and really and look at all aspects from a change management, from a business process, from a don't customize basic software where it doesn't need to be customized. Don't adapt the system to your processes that weren't working to begin with. All these things are very important, and I think Mark said it, in terms of some of the lines. The more you engage the employees and the more you, really make it a cultural thing, the more chances of success that you're going to be in implementing new technologies.
Well, see, I told you there was a lot in common here. Karush, what about you?
Well, as a legacy industry, 60% of my staff come from law enforcement in the field, and in the aviation side, similar. So it's the same old man versus machine. However, we have made it simple. We do not have an in-house IT department. And what it does is that we view technology that enables the transformation of the business. So operations controls technology. Again, if I have somebody in-house, then their job becomes to be successful and they're trying to make their mark. And it creates what we don't want in a very agile organization. So what we have is, when operation needs a product or a service to be enhanced, we have long-term vendors, over a decade plus, who serve as subject matter experts in that particular environment, and they become the customers. My ops are the customers that they have to serve to get the desired result. And the success is measured by the customer experience. And it's important because we talk about IT as this behemoth that somehow overtakes, or 12 years ago, 10 years ago, largest transportation agency in this country, in the state also, and pretty large in this country, we provide services for them. I won't give names. So they decided that they wanted all their doors throughout New Jersey to open with one card. Guess who took it over? IT. And what did they do with it? They made an IT project. Where was security? Where was police? Where was everybody else outside the door? They couldn't open the doors. They decided how the access should be given. They decided, and it failed. It failed. And then HR comes in, and HR takes it over now because it's an HR function. Failed. Finally, the guys who are actually working and doing took it over. Security operations and police. Police took over. So our goal is similar. We do not want technology to be something that tells us what to do. We enable technology to help us get better. So, and there's always going to be some standoffish attitude between legacy businesses like ours, but we manage it in a peaceful way. Customer must win.
Okay, stakeholder engagement. That's a big message. I am going to open to questions right now. I see we're running a little short on time. We have other questions we can discuss, but let's stop there.
Looking out 5 to 10 years, how do you see robots affecting your businesses? There's been a lot written about robots lately. Can you forecast or see how they are impacting or may impact your businesses?
I thought you were my friend. You get robots in my business, I'm out of business. But to Jim's question, robots do exist. Anybody seen an ATF, a bomb drill, an IED drill? The gentleman before here talked about it. We could not do that without robots today. Scanners are nothing but robots. They don't smile at you. But so clearly in our business on the security side, there is absolutely no doubt in our minds that 10 years down the road, they'll get sophisticated. They'll do much more because it allows us to do, now keep in mind, there's somebody else managing the robot. So those of you who are thinking, you just eliminate the human species from doing anything, that's not going to happen. Somebody has to control from a safe place the entire movement, choreograph the entire sequence to make it work. So absolutely huge part, but hard to predict how much.
Okay. I see another question.
My name is Chris Seelbach. Thank you all very much for providing all this information to us. I have a question for all of you. I'd like to hear any stories you have on how you solved the dashboard problem and how you integrate the information you get and what successes you've heard about or that you've observed. Thank you.
Okay, who's going to take that? Where are you going to start?
Well, I can answer quickly. I don't think I have. I happen to be an analytical guy, so I love seeing lots of numbers and a lot of information. I deal with bakers. They don't want to see one. So I think that getting KPIs that are fit for an organization are essential for its future success. So keep it simple. Just get what really, there's only a couple of things that really fundamentally drive your business, and then let the analytical people behind the scenes go through a couple more reams of data.
And right now for us, what we're doing is with our new business, Stratibo, we're launching a new company to sell our software and our back office services. We're developing a dashboard for people who are in the transportation brokerage industry to look at those key performance indicators so that they can see in a snapshot inside the system that they're using to manage their whole transportation business, what is driving the company and what's going up, going down, et cetera, and things that they really need to pay attention to and look at. So we're in the process of developing that as part of our software package.
I can say quickly that we service over 32 airlines in this country, and every one of them has currently access to the information that we provide them. 3 quick steps for you. First, use it as an empowerment tool. A dashboard is an empowerment tool. People like to see the information that they can readily use to make the day better. 2, learn to say no. Lesson is that, someone says, I want to see this, 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 and that, and the list is never ending. So you got to learn to say no. And 3rd, make sure that it works within the parameters of what you have established within your vision. Just because it's technology, people have this sense that it can do everything. It cannot do everything for everybody. That's it.
I would like to add, I like what Mark said, keep it simple, make sure you're asking the right questions, and make sure that the data is correct. And oh, by the way, we would like everybody to be a robot in the morning and drink Dunkin' coffee. Just
While they're looking at the board.
Can take another question. Other question? Okay. One of the things that I asked each of you to think about in advance is what's the one piece of advice that you would give to this group about technology and embracing it and integrating it into your company? And let's start over here, Roland. We'll just go around.
Yeah, for me, it's something I said previously. Technology, it's not an IT project, it's an organizational initiative that really touches on pretty much every aspect of what a company does in today's world, given how important technology is. And if you're not changing with technology, technology will change you. So it's here to stay.
First, engage people, without a doubt, is the most essential piece. I would then say, set up your budget, your plans for timing, et cetera, and leave yourself a nice cushion. Leave some gap, because some things will arise. And then get plenty of sleep before you start.
And money.
Right.
The only thing I can say is, if you're not a technology company, then technology must enable the customer experience. We are a high-touch company. That's our goal. Technology doesn't duplicate that or change that. So technology must be aligned with your vision and stay true to what you are and what you do for your customers. Don't let it change that.
Okay.
And ours is really to seek an automated solution to any problem that we have in the business, any business process that you have that's starting to take up some time, and especially if you're thinking of hiring a person to do it, you need to automate it. If you can completely automate it, great. If you can't, automate it as much as possible before you give it away, because once you give it away, it's frozen in time. The person is not going to automate themselves out of a job. We have a quick little example where we used to get these calls in, which is common in our industry, from the carriers asking when the trucking company bills were going to be paid and the time, the amount of money, et cetera, and it was a complete waste of time for us. But after a certain point in time, it started really eating up a lot of time, and somebody in our organization said, oh, we might have to hire somebody to field these calls. And I said, no, we have to program the system to proactively send out notes to all of our suppliers saying, we received your invoice, this is how much, this is when it's going to get paid, and now we've eliminated those calls. But if we had a person sitting there, I mean, that person's not going to sit up and say, oh gosh, I think I can make my job go away. So we're not about making people's jobs go away by any means, because we're hiring a lot of people on the top line, to grow the top line, and we're trying to reduce our costs in the background. So.
Okay, so there you have it. It's really not about the technology in a way. It's really about the customer. It's about having it go with strategy you've selected, and also, of course, stakeholder engagement. I want to thank each of you for sharing your insights and wisdom with us today, and I have plaques for you as well. So thank you very much.